This is wrong. Here the elbow and forearm are higher than the net. They can't be higher than the net, they must be lower. For players within their first 2 to 3 years, don't rush to generate power or play matches. During this time, you should focus on establishing proper fundamentals. Your future potential depends on how solid and sound your technical framework is. Later, you can improve by gaining match experience and developing your ability to adjust to the game's rhythm. Proper technique not only gives you a higher potential but, most importantly, helps prevent injuries. So today, let's focus on building the correct framework for your forehand drive. First, let's talk about the grip. Let's start with a common problem for penhold players on the forehand: the flying elbow. This is often caused by the thumb and index finger pinching the racket too tightly to secure it. This tight pincer grip, often used to stabilize the racket for a backhand block, creates tension that travels up the arm and forces the elbow to rise during the forehand stroke. So, a key point for penholders is that you must adjust your grip when switching between forehand and backhand. Second, for the shakehand grip, the correct way to hold the racket is to center the webbing of your hand on the handle. But if you grip it this way, it's considered a forehand-oriented grip. This will naturally result in a wiping or brushing motion on your shots. If you grip it this way, it's considered a backhand-oriented grip, which means your forehand shot might end up being a hooking motion. If you have a forehand grip, you might brush the ball. This creates a problem for your backhand, as it's impossible to switch your grip that quickly. Conversely, with a backhand grip, your forehand might be forced into a hooking motion. The correct way to hold the racket is to place the blade deep into the center of the webbing between your thumb and index finger, securing it firmly with your thumb resting on the rubber. Many amateur players have this kind of swing, and the reason for this is strongly related to the index finger. When you raise your index finger, your racket face will naturally open up and point upwards. Even if I drop my elbow, the racket face stays open, because the racket's angle follows your hand's posture. Even if you lower your shoulder and elbow, if your finger is pointed up, the racket head will also point up. Shakehand players often have a tense, raised wrist, while penhold players tend to have a flying elbow. This is related to how the fingers grip the blade and the level of relaxation. So, everyone must avoid these flaws in your grip. For both my forehand and backhand, my index finger stays horizontal across the blade. When I loop, keeping my finger flatter allows my wrist to relax, which gives me a more flexible and wider range of motion for the racket head. When you grip the racket, is there a gap in your thumb-index finger webbing? There shouldn't be. The reason you often make mistakes when trying to generate power is that this gap is too large, causing the racket to be unstable on impact. An unstable racket face leads to excessive errors, because you can't control the direction of force on such a light ball. So, your fingers should be in contact with the blade, but this doesn't mean gripping tightly. You can hold the racket gently, as if caressing it, not squeezing it. Only at the moment of impact should you tighten your grip. Next, let's discuss stance. Everything we're covering now is fundamental theory. As you advance to a higher level, you'll learn to adjust these fundamental movements based on the incoming ball, as the basics don't cover every situation. A major problem for many amateurs is that they stand with their body in the forehand corner. If you stand there, you can't open up your body for a swing unless the opponent hits the ball wide to your forehand, which is unrealistic. As a rule, your belly button should be aimed towards the center line of the table, not positioned in the forehand corner. Why do many people hit the ball cross-court to their left? It's because their contact point is too close to their body, forcing them to swing sideways to complete the stroke. This is to create more hitting space. The problem isn't your hand, it's that your body position isn't leaving enough room for your forehand. The second issue is distance. For a forehand drive, you must maintain distance from the table, because beginner shots are often soft. Because the ball doesn't reach your baseline, you tend to lean over the table to hit half-long balls, developing a pushing habit. Then, when a topspin ball does go deep, you hit it into the net because you're jammed. Remember, whether the ball is half-long or deep, if it's a topspin ball, it will always travel forward after the bounce, it's just a matter of timing. Therefore, during rallies, maintain a distance of one forearm's length from the table. Touch the end of the table with your racket, keep your elbow touching your side. And that distance is your optimal position for the forehand drive. So ensure your positioning is correct. Don't stand too close. If you're too close and the ball comes deep, you'll be forced to rush your shot because you don't have time to execute a full swing. Here's how that error happens. The ball comes deep, you realize you don't have time. So you have to rush the stroke because waiting will make you late. You're forced to hit on the rise. Do you ever feel like you've hit a plateau? It's because your early technical flaws cause a chain reaction of problems later on. For instance, if your center of gravity is unstable, your transitions will be slow. If your legs aren't engaged, your movement will be slow. If your swing is too big, your recovery will be slow. If your swing is too small, you'll struggle to generate power. If you lean back, you can't get to short balls. If you stand too close, you'll rush your shots. This is why we must standardize our technique, because eventually all these skills must be combined to play a match. You must pay attention to your body posture. First, your knees must be bent. For adults, we don't expect a deep professional squat, but you need at least a slight bend. Second, your core. Your stomach shouldn't be pushed out, it needs to be engaged and tucked in. Third, if you just tuck in your stomach, your lower back will be too tense and get tired. You need to relax your lower back from that tense state. This is the correct athletic posture for table tennis. Bend your knees slightly, engage your core, and at the same time, lean your upper body slightly forward and relax. With this posture, at the very least, others will see that your body mechanics look good, relaxed, and coordinated. Someone asked why no one teaches stepping around. In a real match, you don't even have time to step around for a semi-high ball. The men's game is becoming much more two-winged, focusing on dominating with the backhand to set up a forehand attack. The backhand has become much more versatile, with the flick, rip, loop, and punch. We only step around for a clear opportunity. For amateurs, it's very difficult to step around in a topspin rally. You'd have to be young and athletic, and your opponent would have to give you the chance. That style of play is a bit outdated, especially in topspin rallies. Now, let's talk about the arm action. At this point, your body, stance, and grip are set. The next step is to learn to let the body lead the arm. You should keep your hand in front of your body and let your body rotation initiate the swing. This will sync up your timing. Your body action should be, as the ball comes, keep your hand in front. Then open up your hips, waist, and knees so your body turns to about a 45-degree angle, while your racket is at your side. The relationship between your body and racket is that the body is in front of the racket, not perfectly aligned or at a 90-degree angle. When you rotate, it should feel like your hand stays in place while your body turn brings it to your side and then brings it forward. Don't swing with just your arm. Your hand stays in front of the body, and all movement is driven by the body. This is called shielding the ball with your body. The swing itself is the fastest part of the motion. The body's movement and footwork to get into position are the slower parts. Therefore, your hand should stay calmly in front of your body. In a match, you use your body and feet to get into position first, and the backswing is the very last step. The wrong way is to see the ball and immediately pull your arm back, with your hand and foot moving together. The right way is, hand in front, use feet and body to find the ball, then once in position, take your backswing and hit forward. Deformed strokes are caused by an improper contact point. My shoulder is tucked in. You tuck the shoulder in to open the body, and tuck it in to drive the body forward. When you lean forward, you should feel that your hitting shoulder is always leading forward during movement, like it's containing or wrapping around the shot. In our basic ready position, a professional player's right shoulder is slightly lower. For the forehand drive, it's the same. Instead of parallel shoulders, drop your hitting shoulder slightly. Let your right shoulder drop down. Your hitting arm should feel like this, with the right shoulder always lower during the backswing. During rotation, it's not a flat, horizontal turn. Set this position from the start with the right shoulder low. Then rotate by pressing down. During the backswing, your forearm and elbow should be lower than the net. This is wrong. Here the elbow and forearm are higher than the net. They can't be higher than the net, they must be lower. In your ready position, keep your right shoulder low and your left shoulder high. When you rotate, you are pressing down into the rotation, not turning flat. If you prepare with a low shoulder and then swing, your stroke will look much more standard. During your backswing in contact, your shoulder should not be tense at all. Don't let it tense up. The shoulder should feel like it's being pressed down and tucked in. For the forehand drive, the shoulder's force is directed forward, not tilting to the right or lifting up. Avoid shrugging your shoulders, keep them down and relaxed. Maintain this tucked-in position without bobbing up and down or leaning sideways. Once you drop your elbow, the shoulder will follow naturally. Let it rotate forward. This is critical, or it will negatively impact your loop even more. Your mistakes in the drive will only be magnified in your loop, and your mistakes in the loop will be magnified in a match. In all techniques, we need to keep the shoulder and elbow down. Now let's talk about the elbow. Penhold players, listen carefully. With your shoulder down, your elbow must not fly up. The shoulder, elbow, and wrist are the three key points. If you get them right, your basic framework will be solid. When you drop your shoulder, the tip of your elbow should point downwards, not backwards. Pointing it back is a common mistake. So many players swing like this, and it's truly an elbow issue. Because the forehand contact point is in front and to your right, hitting too early rushes the shot, and hitting too late gets you jammed. Your swing needs to move from back to front to meet the ball. If your elbow points backward, it can't drive forward to meet the ball and complete the arm snap. It can only push and pull from a fixed position, which doesn't generate proper power. As you swing, the upper arm and elbow drive forward, and the forearm snaps to complete the motion. You should feel that as your elbow drops, the tip of the elbow pushes forward. It's a tucked-in shoulder feeling, not a relaxed, wrapped shoulder. The elbow doesn't move like this, it should push forward. As it comes down, it leads the forearm snap, driving forward to finish the stroke. Add some body rotation, and swing forward. The elbow tip must always point down. It's the same for looping. The elbow drives forward with the upper arm, then you snap your forearm. A problem with keeping the elbow down is that your racket face might become too vertical. We adjust for this using the wrist. Keep the elbow pointing down, and use wrist rotation to adjust the racket angle, not by opening or closing the whole arm. A common mistake among amateurs is opening and closing the racket face with the whole arm. This means you haven't learned to separate the movements of your forearm, wrist, and upper arm. The forearm should rotate while the upper arm is stable. The wrist should rotate while the forearm is stable. The elbow should remain stable. Racket angle adjustments are made by the wrist, not by moving the elbow. Let's also talk about the distance between your elbow and your body. Most players pull their elbow back and then push it forward. In all forehand techniques, the backswing comes from opening the forearm. It's the same for a loop, you open the forearm. Your forearm should always be behind your elbow. You shouldn't be pulling your elbow back so that your hand is in front of it. This is in front of the elbow. This is behind it. Opening the forearm looks much better. The elbow joint is not meant for heavy work, it gets injured easily. So many cases of tennis elbow are caused by this. Joints will have problems if overused, so they need to be protected. The muscles of the upper arm and forearm are meant for the hard work. Support the joints and let the other parts coordinate the movement. So on the backswing, avoid pulling the elbow back and pushing it forward. Instead, fix the elbow's position and open up the forearm like the tip of a whip, open and snap, not pull and push. The correct distance between your elbow and your body is about one hand's width. Place your middle finger on your elbow tip and your thumb on your body, that is the ideal distance. During the backswing, maintain that distance, relax a bit, and coordinate with your body rotation. Then your stroke will be correct. Look at the elbow, look at this distance. Rotate with the shoulder down. Keep the shoulder relaxed and tucked in. Then, you'll transition from this basic stroke to a more powerful one. It's a step-by-step process. Start with the drive, slowly learn the loop, then learn to generate power with correct technique, and finally, learn to move your feet without your form breaking down. Then you'll have it.